Thank you all for coming for our Women in Sports event this year. This year we've had the great fortune and to work with, or work again with one of our partners that we've done a lot of work with. So I'm going to introduce Paul Bremer. We're talking about this. I think we go back at least 5 years to various productions. I think one of the first things he did here was he was working on a highlight show for the NBA G League that we shot right here in our studios. And Paul's going to tell you about the organizations that he's working with that Sacred Heart University is so happy to partner with.
Thanks, Andrew. Who better to talk about women's sports than two middle-aged guys, right? So I'll get this out of the way quickly. My company's called Good Sport, founded in 2016, purpose-driven sports media company focused exclusively on telling positive stories about sports. In 2020, we changed our mission to focus exclusively on women's sports. And in 2021, with the help of the wonderful Michelle Blake Wilson, who you'll meet shortly, we started a company called Empower Onyx, which is focused on black women and girls in sports. Our goal, and it's the kind of goal that you're always going to chase and you're never going to actually achieve, is just to continue to raise the visibility of women and girls in sports. We intentionally chose the term in sports because it's not just about covering sports. We look at sports as this beautiful canvas that so many life stories are painted on, and women in sports tend to be more approachable, relatable, and frankly, likable. So, as you'll find out tonight. So, thanks, Andrew, and we're really pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to, as Paul said, I think that, I want to just be quick and get out of the way. So I'm just going to introduce our host for this evening, Takira Carter, social media coordinator and talent at Overtime Sports. She's a graduate of Sacred Heart University with a Bachelor of Arts in Communication and Media Studies and a Master of Arts in Sports Communication and Media. Carter was an impactful player on the Sacred Heart University women's basketball team. And after freelance work in sports reporting and media production, she secured a full-time position with the WNBA as a social media and digital content publisher. She's traveled and produced content for in-season games and premier postseason events like the WNBA All-Star Game and the WNBA Finals Tournament. Her time is now split between work at Overtime Sports and color commentating positions with the Westchester Knicks of the NBA G League and the Northeast Conference with Sacred Heart Basketball. So let me welcome Takira Carter.
Hey, how y'all doing? Good. So first of all, thank you for having me back here. A lot of you guys know me, and I go by Ty. I want this conversation to be just that, conversational. I don't want this to feel like a lecture, school, class. I want you guys to be able to be involved with our guest that we have here today, who is Miss Michelle Blake Wilson. We're two women who continue to evolve and work in sports, and though Michelle has been at it a little longer than me, just a little bit, right? She is going to provide so much wisdom to all of us. And so that's why I want you guys, if there's something that you hear and you don't quite understand it, feel free to jump in, read the room, and be like, is this a good time for me or not? And, get the mic, and let's make this a fun one. It doesn't have to feel like we're sitting in class and we're bored. I want this to be something that you can take away and remember tonight in your experience, because one thing that we are taking from you right now is your time. And at least when we have your time, we want it to be a good one. So thank you guys for having the both of us here. So I'm going to introduce again Miss Michelle Blake Wilson. She's the co-founder and CEO of Empower Onyx, also a managing partner of the Bell Group. She's helped grow national companies in retail, luxury, sports, and entertainment sectors. And also, when she was coming up, she played tennis, rode equestrian. That's a woman of many trades right there, y'all. So everybody, please give a warm welcome to Miss Michelle.
Okay, Ty, you have to call me Michelle. There's no Miss Michelle at all. I'm not that old.
No, not at all. So sort of getting right into it, I wanted to read to you guys because part of this is Title IX and what Title IX means according to the internet. I wrote it down. It says, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. 50 years ago today, this became a federal law, so in 1972. So it's important to understand that we weren't always granted the rights as women to be a part of things that men always had those rights to do. So sort of sectoring into our conversation, how have you evolved into a woman in sports?
Wow. One of the funny stories, and I think I told this on the panel Zoom previously. So as you said, Ty, I went to Hampton University back 100 years ago.
Wait.
Yeah.
Who is the real HU?
Okay, so we're not even gonna go there, y'all. I'm very proud of our I. So those of you who don't know, there is a Howard University that also goes by HU. However, Hampton was an institute until 1980s-ish. And so we are HIU and very proud of it. Thank you this time. So with that being said, my journey with Title IX has been interesting. So Hampton was one HBCU that competed at a D1 level in tennis. They had one of the best HBCU tennis teams, but it was only men. And they really, really wanted to officially play D1 teams. Like they would do scrimmages and stuff like that, but it wouldn't go towards, their conference numbers. And so they wanted to move up divisionally into D1. And in order to do that, they had to have a girls team. So I'm happy to report I was one of the first recruits on the Hampton University girls tennis team. So
come on, y'all, that deserves a hand right there.
So Title IX really played a huge role in my life. I played tennis my entire life. Like literally, I came home to a tennis racket. My dad was the quintessential tennis dad before it was a thing. And so sports just was always a part of me. Because I was an equestrian at a time, seeing myself riding in college wasn't really an opportunity that I saw for myself, but tennis was. So my ability to play at Hampton, and then because I come from a tennis family that has played, at all levels, I was given an opportunity to see the business of sport, how what goes into it, what goes into creating not only the athlete, but also running the business. And that just started me sort of on my journey in sports. I took some time. My first love is fashion. Stacey mentioned that earlier. So I was a buyer and merchandise director before I went back to business school. But in business school, I had a mentor that passed away. And at his service, all these people kept talking about his impact on his life. And I walked out of that service just saying, I want to have those words uttered about me. I want to have an impact greater than myself. And how do I do that? I wasn't the best tennis player, so I wasn't going to go on the professional tour. But I knew that taking my business acumen and my love of sports, that was an opportunity for me to serve and me to serve my community.
I think that's deep. What you said was that realization and understanding, like, no, I may not be the best in my sport. I may not be the best student, right? But what am I going to do to hone in on opportunity? So when it comes down to that, a lot of people see the success. It looks good right now in your life. But what are the struggles that you had to endure to get to where you are today?
Sure. And one of the first things that we talked about in our prep call, and I say this very frequently to students and mentees, no one's path is linear. Everybody's path is surreptitious. You wind up in places you never thought you'd be. I mean, maybe if you're a doctor, there's, steps to this, but anyone else, you talk to any professional, they never see themselves sitting in the role where they are. And so, as I've said previously on the podcast, it's just, you have to be present along your journey. You have to understand where your opportunities lie. You have to know that every door closes for a reason. There's a lesson in it. And always look to move forward. I mean, you're always gonna take 1 step forward and 3 steps back, but trust me, that's the way you walk a mile eventually. So just, persevere. Don't give up. Just because, you might want to be a broadcaster and it doesn't work out, well, maybe you were supposed to run, the broadcast booth. Maybe you weren't supposed to be in front of the camera, or maybe you were behind the camera and you should be in front of it. Like Andy Cohen, he was, a business person in the entertainment space, but has such a personality that folks were like, you need to be in front of the camera, and now look at what he's done. So I just say, just if you're present in the moment, that is the best you can do, and everything will be revealed to you.
And just kind of piggybacking off that, one of my favorite quotes, I don't know who said it or made it up, but I think it's like a world quote in a sense, is just run your own race. You can't compare yourself to the person next to you or beside you. And I think something that goes on today is we have this world of social media where we're looking and we scrolling on that phone and we like, man, she had such and such game sitting courtside, but we don't know that she spent her last dollars just to be there to look cool for the gram or something like that. So I think the most important thing in this process as well is to also be realistic with yourself and your expectations out of yourself. Sometimes a girl who just graduated from college or a young man is going to be 20 years old and they're going to land that job right away that you feel like you should have. And then it might take you till you're 30 as well. So I think another conversation we should have is don't put a time limit on your goals.
Oh, absolutely not. And you can't, because there's no telling how things are going to manifest themselves. And you don't stand in those positions or get those job offers when you want. I mean, I'm a woman of faith, and they say, man plans and God laughs. It's true. And so you just have to, that's why I keep going back to just being present, because you don't know how it's going to, your goals are going to manifest themselves and why you're going this way to get over here. So I just think that you just have to recognize everybody's journey is different. You guys grew up with social media. I didn't. I know I'm dating myself now, but social media is a newer thing, and I have to remind my children all the time, it's a moment in time. It's not life. And I know it feels like it, and it's hard to see people at the party you wanted to go to, or in the role or at the event you wanted to be at. You don't know if, to your point, they just had a breakdown. They did everything to get there, and it's not panning out. It's just a moment in time. And so I will say that. Please, everybody, keep social media in perspective. I know it's about brands, and it's the way in which you guys live life, but there is life outside of it. So you want to connect with someone, pick up the phone and call. Like, I joke all the time with some of my young teammates. I'm like, don't throw the phone because I called you. Like, I know you're like, oh my God, it actually rings. But, that's the way you make connections. That's what I'm saying.
Can we sort of sector and talk about the different positions that there are in sports? We had a great conversation about this yesterday, and we were like, to the eye, I think a lot of people only see that there's marketing, or they think social media, graphic designer, being in front of the camera. But we also spoke, there's things in sports that have to deal with legal, financial, and you're still a person, a man or a woman in sports. So I know you have a lot of info on that.
Oh my goodness. That's why we are doing what we're doing, is really to open up the aperture of understanding of where you can see yourself in sport. So whether it's someone who has a passion for fashion can be in sports, someone who has legal background, accounting, production. I mean, there's a myriad of different roles, and that's why Empower Onyx is doing what we're doing. We're trying to expose everyone to what's possible within the landscape of sports. As my partner, Paul mentioned, that's our goal, is for everyone to see themselves in this industry, because it's great. It is transformative. You can, through the platform or sport, can bring about economic change. It can bring you generational wealth. Like, there's so much that's available off the field, and it's fun. Like, I knew I was never going to be an accountant. Nothing, no shade to accountants, but I could never do it at all. But it was nice that the payoff from my job was to get to go to the U.S. Open and sit, courtside and see, feel the ball go, by me, or be at NBA All-Star Weekend. I mean, for me, a paycheck was always just a paycheck, but it's like, this is really cool. This is a benefit of being in this particular industry and the life skills. I mean, it's the same thing that you need to become a world-class athlete. You need that dedication, that commitment, and that expertise. I mean, that transfers on the other side. So it's also a good industry to be in. I was in entertainment, like you mentioned, Lord.
Tell us about entertainment. What happened there? What's the tea?
Well, the tea is, what I come from sport, and so I know that anybody that I have to cater to or I'm engaged with put in years and years of time, made countless sacrifices to get to wherever they were. So whether it's a junior tournament or it was at the U.S. Open, or when I was with Mercedes at, Formula One racing. There were just hours of hard work that went into going there. Entertainment ain't like that at all. And so for me, having to cater to, coddle someone who had one song, one moment in time, just blew my mind. So funny story, I ran the BT Experience for Viacom, and so there are all these celebrities running around, and who was it? The little Whippin' boys. And I'm like,
are they? What is it? Sorrento?
Yeah. I mean, my kids loved the song, and I knew who they were. You ain't gotta talk to me like that. Wait, I gotta do what? I gotta hold your. Wait, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But then you flip it. I'm in the bowels of the U.S. Open underneath Arthur Ashe Stadium, and I've got my two phones. And I'm looking down, and who do I walk directly into with my head into his chest was Roger Federer.
Oh, wow.
Do you know this man asked me if I was okay? I was, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. Are you fine? But that's just the difference in the two. And having that experience in entertainment just further solidified why I love sports, why I wanna be here and doing what I'm doing.
So, for our students who are in the audience right now, and some who are athletes right now at this university, how can you really hone in on your craft and also use your network that you probably in college, right? You don't even realize that you're building in school to help you get to that next level?
I would say talk to as many people as possible. Like, I mean, you guys have social platforms that allow you to connect with all different types of people. I would say go all in. My partner, Paul, there's no one that he can't get to in like one or two connections. And he's taught me how to manage and network and leverage, LinkedIn. But I would just say, find out where your passion lies, because that is the important part. So you could be a great athlete, but you know what? You really love marketing, or you really love social media, or you really love dressing. Like, whatever it is, find your passion. And there's somebody doing that that you can get to very easily.
Now, would you say that networking is a process? Because I'm going to give my little backstory. When I was in school, I was so caught up in, I'm playing basketball, I'm going to school. Yes, I'm going to class and doing what I'm supposed to do, because that's what I'm here for. But at the same time, it gets to the point where I'm graduating and I don't even realize what's at the palm of my hands here in Connecticut by itself. ESPN down the road, never even inquired about it. So many other companies, what is it, CBS Sports in Stanford, you have that around here, and you're not taking advantage of those opportunities necessarily, and the excuse is, well, I'm a student athlete and I had to go here and do this. And how do you leverage going the extra mile while you're also playing your sport?
And that's hard, and I get it. Early morning practices, after school practices, like, I get the life of a student athlete. So I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's the same work that you put in on the field, or getting ready to be on the field or on the court. You know, you have to find time. Like I said, back to, so I don't hate social media, just so I'm clear. I know I keep coming down on it, but it's a beautiful thing because it allows for you to do things in your time. But you have to put in the time, just like anything else. And the other thing I will say is also, and I know this is a cliche term right now, but you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to be vulnerable to what your true situation is, and through that vulnerability, authenticity comes out, and your ability to connect. And so if you are a student athlete that wants to do broadcast journalism, well, you know what, you have to break down and say, I don't know how to break in. I don't know what I should be doing. And be bold and brave enough to ask those questions of someone you may not even know. Now, you may not get a response, but 9 times out of 10, I will tell you, if you are being your authentic self and you come and you're asking for this advice in a genuine place, people, you'll be amazed at how the universe opens up and, you know, provides that information for you.
No, that is super true. I think I didn't learn that piece of things until far after I graduated, and I was working at a car dealership as a receptionist, and I was just like, what the heck is life? Freelancing, not making money for what I love to do, and I think that just kind of went a long way as far as going back to our prior conversation, character building and,
Yep.
and trying to figure it out. So as far as building a company that revolves around trying to elevate and help Black women as a whole, have you ever felt any hold on yourself for being a Black woman in sport and trying to work your way up the ladder in such a competitive field?
I think absolutely everybody has a struggle. Everyone has a story. But I think my mom never allowed me to rely on that. Like, that was something, like, everybody has something they've got to get over, and you just have to persevere. And yes, it's tough, but, you know, it's what I love. It's telling these stories, being able to bring these women's stories forward, to have an impact on my community in a real, tangible way. I mean, that's just motivating. And yes, there are dark days. There are lots of dark days, because as you're building a business, you wind up doing a lot of the other stuff that has nothing to do with the business, like that commercial, that QuickBooks commercial where she's talking about building furniture, and then she wiggles her hands because she wants to deflect all the other stuff she has going on. That's true. But I know it's for a bigger purpose, and that's just motivating for me.
Now, can you reflect on a story that guys have done, like, recently in Power of Onyx, that I would say you felt so happy when you accomplished it or it was done, because you're like, man, that's a powerful story, and, like, this is why I do this type of work?
Todd, it's so funny. Every single one of our stories has been uplifting, and keeps me motivated. I mean, whether it's the athletic director, and some of y'all might have heard me say this before, but the athletic director that has never been, you know, spoken to or interviewed, but has 20 plus years experience, or talking to Venus Williams about her support of Harlem Junior Tennis and Education Program, which is a program that sort of mirrors their program in Compton, to a young lady, and you guys may know this was so cute. Whomever, if you guys watched the Oscars, Beyonce's performance, did y'all see it in the beginning? So you see the little girl on horseback? That was one of ours.
Oh, I saw that in your article, yes.
So being able to tell these stories, I mean, there's countless instances like that, or Jamel Hill, saying, you know what, I love what y'all are doing. I'm here for it. I want to, help support and mentor you through this process. So there's just a lot in everything that we do and touch at Empower Onyx that's just very meaningful.
And sort of speaking of mentorship, coming up, did you have a mentor who you reached out to in order to get more mentorship from, or do you have people now that you try to mentor and help build up in this space?
All of the above. I've had mentors my entire journey. I mean, starting in college. I think that is the secret sauce. That's where the magic lies, because through mentorship you get, and there's many different types. There's mentors who provide you career advice. There are mentors that turn into sponsors if you're in companies that are in rooms where decisions are being made and where they can bring you forth in the conversation. There are life mentors. Katrina Adams has a book called Own the Arena, and if you guys get a chance to check it out, it's a phenomenal book. Quick story on her: she was the president of the USTA that served during the time of the Serena Osaka, the big blow up. And so she wrote a book in where she talks about having your own personal board, and that's the next iteration of what my mentorship looks like at the point in my career. I need a multitude of different types of people with different kinds of expertise around me. And so building a personal board matters. And yes, I got my girls on there who's like, see what we're not gonna do and how it's not gonna go down and what you're gonna get right. But then I also have, my professional mentors and people that, I just respect because they just do their job so damn well. And then there are people that are in my circle that are younger than me that just help to keep me relevant and understand the nuances of conversation. So I say, it's very important for everyone to have those people that you can go to, because it's gonna get tough. Like, when those doors close, what do you do? How do you handle it? How do you persevere? How do you move to that next position? Sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
And you need someone to sort of help to guide you through it. So it's very, very important.
I love that. One of the people who you interviewed recently, Monica McNutt, she's a mentor to me, and I know if I need something, in the busyness of her schedule, she's on ESPN right now. First Take, whatever you name it, she's doing it, and she'll pick up the phone. Like,
absolutely.
Just
She was
super
texting
reliable.
me this morning.
Yes, and she was probably getting ready for the day, whatever she had to do. And those are the types of people that you want to get in your corner. And I think the first step in that was I just wasn't afraid to reach out to her, and it turned out that we had ties. Like, one day, it was maybe like I was just graduating, so like 2018, I saw her on Instagram, and I was like, dang, like she looks super familiar. I see her doing these things. I'm gonna just hit her up. I send her a DM. She gets back to me quickly. And then I was like, yeah, you came to our practice one day. She was at University of Maryland getting her graduate degree. Yep. I was like, yeah, you did a story on my team, the Fairfax Stars. And she was like, girl, I don't remember that, but what's your number? I gave her my number. She texted me. She was like, girl, I already had your number saved in my phone. This is from, and it's like, and it comes full circle, but it starts with the step of, I just reached out to her, and it already just, we had ties with one another, and now I know I can hit her up if I need anything. She might reply in 30 seconds. It might take 1 to 2 business days. That's fine, though. I think it's having genuine people in your corner is so important, and so would love for you all to figure out who that can be to you or will be, and stick with those types of people, because it's super helpful.
But what I will say is you just proved what I was talking about earlier, being vulnerable in the moment and just going for it.
Right.
Just not allowing that fear of, I don't know her, I don't know how to get in touch with her, or if she's too busy. Push through those. You pushed through those fears. You were vulnerable, and you made it happen. But that's Monica all day long. That woman is phenomenal.
She is, and she's doing a lot of amazing things, and she has a story where she just persevered. She pushed down that wall at a time where, from my understanding, she felt like throwing in the towel. So
Absolutely, and you can check out her story.
Yeah, go ahead, plug yourself.
Shameless plug right now, but her story just launched today on SportsIllustrated.com, and so you should check it out, and you can watch and read her story. It's phenomenal. She's great.
So I wanted to talk about manifesting your destiny. We touched on it a little bit, but yesterday you told me that you had a journal in which you kept, and it's okay, we can tell them about it. You have a journal that you wrote down your goals in it, and you started this back in 2002. The year is 2022, and it's like amazing to see the things that you wrote about come into life. So
Yeah. So it's funny because I was on the podcast earlier and I was talking about it. That's actually happened twice to me. And I'm a firm believer in manifesting your destiny. And write it down, hold it, because the host said, I don't know who this quote was from, but your memory fades, but paper doesn't. And it's true. So in college, I wrote down that I wanted to be a buyer on 7th Avenue when I graduate. Like that was my goal. And fast forward the 4 years, I graduated. I was early accepted to Bloomingdale's Buyers Training Program, which at the time was like the Harvard of retail buying. So I kept writing. Phones were not the same that they are now. You made calls, but there was no like note taking and stuff like that. So if that gives you indication about how old I am. But anyway, I walked around with a notebook and would jot down my random ideas over the pandemic, cleaning out, because of course I was crazy and I home edited like everybody else. And I cleaned out one of my pocketbooks and I found the notebook. And I opened it up and I told Ty I was gonna bring it in and I completely forgot rushing out of the door. But I opened it up to the first page and it said, foundation. Start a foundation for girls through the platform of sport. I'm talking to Paul, my partner. He and Monica have been having these conversations. They've been publishing some stuff on their platform, and the light just went on. And we're like, we got to do this, and we got to do this. We have to go all in. It has to be completely authentic and organic, and that was all the stuff that I wrote down. All the stuff that I wrote down in that notebook. So for me, manifesting my destiny, I did say I'm going to write down I want Jeff Bezos kind of money in a book. So hopefully in 20 years from now, I'm there. But I truly believe that what you tell yourself is what you will become.
Right.
And so writing it down, having those affirmations, and seeing it, in black and white, absolutely matter.
It is something like my mom would always tell me, you can speak things into existence as well. So she always told me, or I'll call my mom and I'll say something like, I don't think they're going to clear that. I have a collections bill debt on my credit right now from when I was in school. Don't know how it got there. It got missed by the insurance. I'm like, they might. Don't say might. It's going to be off your credit. It's done. Like that is my mom. That's how we speak. And that's how she tells me to speak life over myself into existence. So hearing you say that, like, it just made me think about the types of conversations that I have with her, and it's so important, especially in this industry where things can get hard. It'll get rocky.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be super smooth sailing, and then next thing you know, you might have a little dip. But the thing is, you always just have to be ready to get back up and continue to succeed, excel, go above and beyond. Which sort of just leads us to this next thing. When you're making a company and it's all about women, it's all about black women as well, what were the barriers that you sort of had to fight through for people to want to buy into this idea, this concept, something that is new, so to speak?
The beautiful thing was timing, and everything happens at their divine moment. Like nothing happens before before it's time. I think we could have had this idea and gone down the path 5 years ago, and no one really could have cared. But then
Right.
2020 happened, and there was a light bulb moment for everyone that we need to start to hear each other's stories and experiences in a different way, because we can no longer sit and say that we are all alike. We all experience this life in the same way. And so I think that was it was the perfect timing and a beautiful moment for us to be in. I was scared that it might have been a little too focused, a little too niche, but as I've manifested to you guys and advised, you got to push through that fear, and we did, and it resonated because, we were Black women in sports, telling stories about Black women in sports in a very rich, textured, nuanced, and celebratory way. I mean, and everyone deserves that. So it's not, women need their stories told by other women, because they just get it. I mean, we have to start to have that level of dialogue if we're really going to get to the place that we're all hoping, that we don't need to be very focused, because it's all mainstream, or it's all inclusive, and there's true equity.
I love hearing that, and I more so love hearing that because at one point, like you said, in 2020, the conversation starts shifting towards need to start seeing more women's faces on TV, right, and in sport. Now, we see people that look like us. You see it, you can be it. We have the Malika Andrews of the world who are doing their thing. Again, Monica McNutt, saw you guys did Megan McPeak. Love her as a play-by-play person. And
Little Pepper Pursley.
Yes, exactly.
Do you guys know Pepper? Have y'all ever checked her out? Highly recommend you go find her on YouTube, on social. She is an 11-year-old firecracker. She was in the Wubble last year. She's a young, up-and-coming basketball commentator. She's adorable, and her commentating is spot on. She is spot on.
She asks the best
sure enough
questions, and
does.
she knows what she's talking about at 11 years old, literally.
Yep, she's very cute.
Yeah. So I just want to give you guys some time. Does anybody have any questions that you guys would like to ask both of us? We're here, open, honest.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, one sec. They're coming over to you with the mic. And then you can just state your name. If you feel comfortable, you can stand up. If not, do what you do.
Hi, Frankie. I love that. You do. Yeah, so I'm not in the business of convincing. I just show them. And to your point, we do have to be better. We've all seen what just, happened, how women are treated. But we know what the hell we're talking about, and we know what we're doing. So I happen to be a woman who really believes in femininity and as a superpower, not sexuality, but femininity, and that is something that I think that we need to embrace more. So I don't walk in a room trying to hide that fact, nor walk away from it. I hit it, square in the face, and I don't let it be an impediment at all.
We got one in the front.
Thank you, Frankie. My daughter is a unisex name, so I love all those kind of things.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Asia.
Hi,
Nice
Asia.
to-
Hi, Asia.
Hi, Ty. So I have a question to piggyback on that, to your response. When did you reach that point of confidence that you don't have to really walk in trying to make it known? You kind of just go in and do what you do? Because I feel like as a grad student, someone who's about to leave college and enter the real world is kind of scary and kind of like I'm not losing, but kind of a little scared to go out there and be confident knowing that in my head I can achieve these things, but it can be scary getting there. So when did you reach that point where you felt like, I'm good, I know I got it, and I'm not afraid to make it known to everybody else?
Oh my God. So Asia, I still don't know if I'm at that point. It's also a point of like faking it until you make it. I am truly a woman of faith. And so I think as I work through and study my faith, that gave me the confidence to know, well, things are divinely ordered. You are supposed to be here. Even your faults, are a part of, God. For me, it's God's plan for my life. And so that gave me the confidence to at least say, you know what, I'm supposed to be here. So let me just take that and do whatever I can do. I mean, I, like many, have suffered from imposter syndrome, being an overachieving Black woman at a, Ivy League business school. That was tough. But, I just have to, again, be vulnerable to that fear, but also know, I'm supposed to be here. Like beyond whatever my head is telling me, I know in my heart that I'm okay, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing in this moment, and allow that to be the leader. And then the other thing that I say all the time, and I have an amazing partner, and I happen to find a wonderful man and partner that definitely supports and is that constant voice in my ear. I hope that helps.
If I could piggyback off that too, I think another thing that you sort of learn is like the repetitive part, the repetition. Like you get used to it in like a good way, and you like improve. So I remember going on one of my first interviews, I was just shook, like nervous. Then you get sort of some type of coaching. You sign up for different things. Like when I was a part of Maria Taylor's cohort, I learned things that I had never learned before, and I took these newfound interview skills, and I'm like, okay, so you don't have to sit here and ramble about yourself and in its entirety. You know what I mean? I think you learn how to like read the person who's interviewing you in a room, and that just comes along with sometimes going through the process a few times if you don't nail it that first go around. So you might not get it right away, and you continue to just go through it, and next thing you know, you're a superstar. Or at least you feel like it, right? Your confidence rises in those types of situations.
And I would say trust. Everybody else is feeling the same way too. So like that also provided me a lot of comfort. It's like, okay, I know how I'm feeling, and there are varying degrees of it, but trust me, in business environments, no matter how confident people project, that could, there are things inside of them that they are fighting through as well. So give yourself a break. Yeah, no problem.
Hi.
Hi. You're the one with the cool sneakers. I saw him.
I'm Micah.
Hi, Micah.
I think this question is for both of you guys.
Sure.
Just on your road, like your path, like what, like, how you feel when you're going the right way, and then how do you feel like, oh, I think I'm not going the right way? Like, how do you, direct yourself on to get back to that right path?
Ooh. How do you know? So you're on the right path because things are, I don't want to say easy, but things happen consecutively. You're, the deal is coming and it closes, and you have that, you feel that wind. And in business, can I curse? When shit ain't going right, sorry, y'all are grown. So when shit ain't going right, I mean, you know it, and doors close. Like, and you feel it in your gut. It's kind of like, are you an athlete? You kind of give me that athlete vibe, right? You know when you're training hard, and you know when, your body and your skills are in alignment, or when, something's off. It is that gut. It goes back to you being connected to your authentic self, and really tapping into that place within you that has guided you in the right way, starting to back to being vulnerable and like just really taking yourself a stock of yourself and understanding, or what those butterflies are about. I think that would be how I've been guided. Like I get a spidey sense. Like when shit doesn't feel right, it usually isn't. And it doesn't go down right, like at all. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I think for myself, when things aren't going right, I try to take a pause. And when I say a pause, I mean like, okay, let me do my research on some things. Let me get it together. Let me calm down. Because I think sometimes we feel like we have to move like 1,000 miles per hour, per minute, per second. And it doesn't even have to be that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to take a step back, literally take a deep breath. Sometimes physically go to sleep on it. And when you get up, you get back to the task, and it sort of starts to unravel and work itself out the way that it's supposed to. And I think I found myself in my best moments when I do just take a step back, like, oh, I want this job so bad. I'm not hearing back from anybody or whatever. It's not the end of the world if you don't get that one job. It's fine. You move on to the next thing. And that's something that I learned. So, when you do get those rejection emails, it's like, all right. Like, and it's not you get to the point where you're complacent with not getting it right, because you do want it. But how do you get to a point where you start looking at things from a standpoint like, okay, what am I doing wrong? And then sometimes you learn maybe you're not even the one who's doing something wrong. You're just not a fit because you could be better for that role, or better than that role, I should say. So I think that's my biggest, approach to things now. Sometimes you just gotta take a little step back and ease into it, and it's all gonna work itself out. I think sometimes, like in sports, we train ourselves to go, 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 and when you get older, you learn that sometimes you need to stop and like take a pause, and it's gonna be fine when you get back going, because now you understand that you redirection yourself to continue going in the way that you see yourself or where you aspire to be.
I will just piggyback on that really quickly and say, just remember, just because information and things move at the speed of light doesn't mean that you need to. You're still a human being, so you still need time to process. You still need time to work through and give yourself that grace and space to think through, as Ty is saying. Just because you can flip an email really quickly doesn't mean you should really send it. Trust me.
Yeah,
Trust me.
might not be right. I've been there.
I saw somebody else.
Yeah, anybody else had a question? Hands?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Hi, my name is Tom. We have our sport communication and media class here tonight, so thank you for putting on the event. And I just had a question, being, a lot of the conversations that you would be covering discuss race, discuss women in sport, and discuss, kind of this position which you spoke about coming about in the wake of 2020, and maybe in the wake of the Me Too movement and this representation that we're seeing. A lot of people, and something we discuss in class a lot, kind of have an issue with performance of sport compared to political conversations. And I was wondering if that's something that comes into mind when you're choosing your topics, when you're choosing your stories, just that performance element versus these are the interesting stories that haven't been told before.
Absolutely. Being a media platform focused on, a racial group, we have to ask ourselves those questions. I think that's the beautiful thing about sport. You need both. There is, sometimes the performative actually leads to change in reality, because sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. What we're seeing, there were, many stunts and promises made, and guess what? Now those chips are being called in. There's that. I do believe that, unfortunately, our environment is very politicized, and, you can't disconnect the person's journey and their experiences versus their engagement and participation in the sport. And so in remembering that athletes are people. We got to allow them to tell their story. Not everyone has to tell the same, you know. Not everyone has to be on a social justice, you know, campaign, but there are athletes that have been affected by, you know, discrimination. However, especially being someone who is focused on, you know, Black women and girls, and so I think there's a need for both of them. I think you just have to handle it very carefully and know what you're dealing with. I mean, it is a business, so there is going to be that, you know, just performative side. I mean, there's going to be black squares that people threw up, and then it was like, okay, now what are you going to do behind that? So, hope that answers your question.
I think it's give or take. It is give or take, especially with social media driven things. Sometimes you might not, something you thought a piece was like so great, and then it's not getting the numbers in what you think. But did it cross that one person or two people where you felt like, well, it made an impact on somebody? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I got to go with the story. So yep. I feel what you mean by that.
Yeah. Because in order to be a platform or a media outlet that is respected and listened to, like, you can't walk away, yeah. You know, because then it's not authentic. Like, if we don't talk about, you know, Black female body and the representation, or the narrative around the Black female athlete in a real way that our Black girls are experiencing, how do we even look? We look crazy. Like, we're marketing to them, but then we're not really telling their experience and how that makes them feel. So,
and you see that often.
But, don't you?
Yeah, everywhere. You know, you tell certain stories, and that's what I love, you know, learning about your platform and all, is that you're trying to tell all the stories, and you're not trying to dance around certain things because of how it might make somebody feel or rub a certain group the wrong way. And I think that's social media done right and storytelling done right. Any other questions?
Hi, my name's Molly.
Hi, Molly.
You've given some of the best advice I've ever heard, both of you. It's awesome.
You.
So sometimes, like, personally, I feel like I put a lot on myself at once, and like I wake up every morning, I'm like, you could do this, like, just keep motivating yourself. What motivates you every morning when you wake up, even when you feel like you have a lot on your plate?
Oh my God. So you're a girl, so that's what we do. We put a lot on our plate all the time. As I said, I start every day in prayer, taking, you know, time regardless. I try hard. I really try hard. This is a struggle, but I try not to look at my phone or my emails.
I fail. I wake up and look at the phone.
Yeah, because that just puts a level of weight on your shoulders. Give yourself a moment to, you know, wake up, be inspired by your day before your day, the weight of your day comes on you. I have 2 children that are a huge motivator for me daily, but I think for me it's very much I wake up in prayer. I don't open my calendar until I really have to. I mean, sometimes I cheat, but I really try to give myself at least a moment in the day to give myself a deep breath, like you were saying, Ty. Take a pause and then tackle your day, because you'll get to it. And guess what? If you don't, it's okay too. Yeah. Just saying, give yourself a break.
I think for myself personally, like I said, I am not like Michelle. I aspire to be like that. I need to do better at that, really, of like not waking up and like looking at my phone, because I do work in social media. The first thing I do, I'm like, oh, did I miss anything overnight? And, you know, I would like to give myself like that time to just, okay, girl, see if you can walk first, you know, step on the ground, get your legs moving, which is okay. But I think I also learned that when you are one person, it's always going to be tasks in your job. You have to find that happy medium and balance. And what's been a good thing, unfortunate, right, that we had COVID and stuff like that, but something that I did get to learn is working remotely, okay, I can kind of take this break to go and walk outside a little bit. So I think you can start, how do I fit me into today? And so
That's a great way to put it.
yeah, I've been trying to do that more. Like, I'm like, okay, the weather's getting nice. How can I at least give myself 30 minutes to go outside and just walk and, like, not even worry about anything else? Or run to Target, but not stay in there too long because I don't really got no business. You know what I mean? Like, but it's, like, a good type of run because you're, like, just disconnecting from work for a little bit and you're, like, managing and balancing your time in the same, in the same breath. So that's been sort of, like, my routine. Or, like, are you scheduling out that time for you to go to the gym and stuff? And I feel like when you put your me time in there, that's how you then start to balance out the work. And I'll say this, it's going to always be a learning process. Things will change to your schedule. You'll have to be adaptive to new things or whatever. But always remember, mental health has been a big thing. And a lot of people are feeling like working from home, people don't know boundaries of when to turn it off just because I am at home. But you can tell them, like, I'm not available right now. Like, that's fine. I think you just have to learn when to speak up for yourself and stuff like that. And it'll sort of all work out as you start to learn, like, your ways and what works for ultimately yourself and your job.
You teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we have, like, a work group chat, and after a certain time, like, I just put it on Do Not Disturb, like, and when I'm on my work hours, I turn it back on. I'm off at 7, you missed me at 7:01. No, I'm just playing. I'll do it sometimes after, but still.
So I think we're going to move to actually wrap things up. Are you going to do one more? Okay, we
Yeah,
got
one more. Did you have one more, Asia? Okay, no problem.
Hi. My name is Mia. So I'm a student athlete. I understand both of you are student athletes. And I often find myself thinking about how when you complete your collegiate career, being an athlete has been such a big part of your identity for so long in your life. Is it something you struggled with, losing that part of your identity, but still being completely fulfilled in your career in sports?
Oh my God. So I hope you caught the panel, the virtual panel before this. And Nia, you've got to go on her platform, Purpose to Be Heard, and that's the entire mission of that program is to work with student athletes, make that transition, and the mental wellness issues that they encounter. So for me, I'm going to let Ty handle most of this because, like, for me, I was only able to play a year in school, so the whole structure of the student athlete was a smaller part of my collegiate experience. So I'll just hand that over to you to handle how that one was. Because for me, it was great. I got my life back. I mean, I was already going to Bloomingdale, so.
Well, of course, I went to school here, and I'll say this, you guys have the best campus these days because this was our new building, and now you guys have all different types of buildings around campus. But I kid you not, we had lost our last game. We were playing away at St. Francis, PA, all the way out in Loretta, East Jesus Nowhere. On the bus, like, I was happy. I'm like, dang, it's the last ride with my teammates. Like, I'm like, I was like trying to take it all in. And I kid you not, I got back into my car and I sat in the parking lot and I just cried. Because I was so hurt. I was like, dang, what do I do next? Like, I just didn't know. And I'll say this, like, then you see your teammates going around campus and you're like, dang, like, do I go and hang out with them? They got workouts and I don't have no business, doing that anymore. You figure it out though, like anything else in life. And at some point, like, you are going to miss it, but that's why we do what we do today. I worked in sports because I always knew that when the ball had to stop bouncing, I didn't want to completely walk away from the game, the playing field, whatever you want to call it. And so it is going to be a transition, and it's, it's not one of those things that I would say is an easy transition, but you then begin to figure out other things about yourself that you didn't even realize, and you develop those things because you played a sport or because you were competitive. And those were, I think, the best aspects that have brought out into me today, because I don't feel like I would be here unless I played basketball because I was competitive in that, because I'm like, okay, I didn't get this job, but I bet you I get the next one I apply for. You know what I mean? It's like that killer mentality, it like clicks. And so that's my biggest word of advice. Just continue to strive for it. It's not going to be easy. Some days you're going to want to cry. You're going to have to figure out, like, okay, how do I work out now? What does working out look like for me? Do I work out anymore? It's all going to be some type of adjustment and transition, but that's what life is all about. So you'll figure it out. You'll be okay. Talk to the people who are closest to you and that you care about the most, and they'll pick you up when you're down.
All right, so that's going to sort of wrap things up. But actually, I just want to ask one more question of Michelle. I thought sort of to sum things up. So Empower Onyx is pretty new.
Yes.
So
Yes.
where do you see it be? Where do you want it to be in 5 years, 10 years, or more? Where do you want this to go?
I want to be the essence of sports.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, I want to be the ultimate destination for anyone looking to engage with Black women and girls in sports. I want there to be on-the-ground community programming to increase participation, engagement in the pipeline. I want to, I want to do everything that you hear. I want movies. I want merchandise. I want Empower Onyx to be, that beacon of light for, a next generation, and really as the thought leaders on how to help, Black female athletes. Oh, sorry. To help Black female athletes move to, the next phase. And everyone, I want Empower Onyx to be a place where everyone can see themselves and understand the experience. So. Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to do a couple of thank yous, if I may, to these two wonderful women. First of all, amazing. To Professor Miller, who's become a friend and invited us 2 months ago to put this on. To all of you, I know what kind of student I was, and I would not be sitting here at 8 o'clock at night, and I think therefore you all will go far and probably get jobs. And I don't want to start mansplaining up here, but I would just add to what they said about career advice. If you have a bullseye, if you're bad at darts like I am, when you play darts, you aim at the bullseye, and when you hit all those other things, you get points. If you're playing that game, that's kind of what your career is like, right? At least mine was. I was a media assistant for the Daytona Cubs, made $200 a week. Moved back to New York, and everybody said, "Oh, you should go work for minor league baseball team." I was like, "Wait, that's what I just did." And they said, "You want an internship, unpaid internship, living at my grandmother's house, commuting in?" And I got a job at an ad agency, and because it was like one level outside that bullseye. And it took me 15 years to get back to sports before I worked at NBC on the Olympics. So you all are gung-ho to be in sports, and that's great. And you may be there tomorrow, or you may be there in 10 years. And if you keep that dream alive, you'll get back to it. But don't be disappointed, and don't sit in your house and do nothing because you want to work in sports. It's very hard to get into this field, as you all know. We probably will have internships this summer at our companies, and I've had great success with this group before, and lots of people that we've worked with from Sacred Heart who have gone on to do really interesting things, some of whom stayed with us for a while and some of whom went on, and we're really pleased. And every time they put in a LinkedIn update, I'm like a proud papa. So if you have interest in Good Sport or in Empower Onyx, no guarantees, but we will probably be able to work with you, and we're really comfortable helping people pad their resumes. So, although I did have somebody who only worked here for 2 weeks, and I got a call for a reference and said she was our VP of marketing, and I was like,
Oh.
okay. And I didn't sell her out, but the cool thing about working in small companies is you do a lot of different things. When you work in a big company, you kind of do one thing over and over, and there's arguments for both, right? For sure. The most important thank you is to our team over here.
I was just about to say.
Who put on this event. I didn't even know I was speaking tonight. That's how unprepared I was. So particularly Izzy, Danny, and Emily. great job, and we couldn't do it without you. And the general manager of Good Sport, Stacy, who is an incredible partner of mine, and the other Danny over there, who unfortunately it's his last day at Good Sport. And to prove my point earlier, he's going on to a bigger company, and and we're really happy for everything he's been able to do for us. So, circle of life, we go on. But without this team and this guy, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and just please, a round of applause to the graduate students of Sports Communication and Media for putting this event together. And then one more round of applause for for Ty and Michelle for making this happen. All right, thank you, everybody. If you want to stick around and say a few words afterwards, we will be here. Have a good night.